Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's top cop on leave ahead of appointment process for new Commissioner of Police. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 9th September 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Granelec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Acting Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith is now on vacation leave. But according to Opposition Member of Parliament Dr. Rudal Munilal, there may be more to the timing of his leave than meets the eye, and he suggests the government may have some involvement. TV6's Renessa Cutting reports.
Because it is not coincidental that the Police Service Commission may have recommendations for Commissioner. They may be on the way to the President's house and then pull the handbrakes and stop, because we saw in the papers yesterday investigation into gun license. That is not a coincidence that the acting commissioner went on leave today.
Referencing the ongoing probe into allegations of a gun racket and other serious misconduct in the police service, Opposition MP Dr. Rudal Munilal alleges there's a plot afoot to get rid of Gary Griffith.
It is not a secret the plan that they have to bring in a commissioner of police of their own liking, and this is part of that diabolical plot.
The probe into the alleged gun racket was launched after a report was submitted to the Prime Minister in his capacity as head of the National Security Council, with claims of bribes being paid in exchange for firearms users' licenses. But Munilal says Dr. Rowley has overstepped his bounds.
The Prime Minister has no authority, even though he's chairman of the National Security Council. He cannot unilaterally and outside of the law appoint two private citizens to investigate a constitutionally protected police service. That investigation is illegal, is unlawful. If you want to investigate police officer, the law establishes the Police Complaints Authority. Under the police service, you also have something called the Professional Standards Bureau that investigates the conduct of police officers.
Munilal says the report has now been referred to the Police Service Commission, which he says has no authority to investigate officers below the rank of Deputy Police Commissioner, and therefore the entire report is now null and void.
And you know what is amazing? This same government came to Parliament to change the law to give the Police Complaints Authority greater jurisdiction than they had before. Now they have jurisdiction over SRP too. So they expand the role of the Police Complaint Authority and now not using the very body to investigate police officers. But they put the Police Service Commission, which is appointed as a political appointment. Yes, it is brought to the Parliament by the President, but it is a political appointment. So a politically appointed Police Service Commission will now investigate an independent, constitutionally protected body called the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That is a scandal.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
CARICOM and African leaders emerged from the very first ever summit on Tuesday, declaring they've laid the foundation to build strong political, cultural and social cooperation between the two sides. More in this Barbados Today news item.
President Kenyatta of Kenya, who chaired the 4-hour-long meeting, says challenges include COVID-19 and climate change should be tackled as one. He also called for stronger partnerships to address the debt woes facing Africa and the Caribbean.
We need to come together to build on the G20 debt service suspension initiative and the progress achieved in facilitating higher pandemic-related spending by inter-ally proactively seeking strategies to increase revenues but at the same time prioritizing our spending that enhances the productive capacities of our respective economies. And this clearly is a task that calls for resourcefulness and innovativeness in the face of the pandemic.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley told the meeting the two regions should also work together on several areas, including trade and developing air links.
We need to be able to visit our countries. Caribbean people want to see Africa, and African people need to see the Caribbean. We need to be able to work together, not just in the interest of a colonial civil service or because people brought us here against our will. We need to do it as a matter of choice and as a matter of economic destiny. We need equally to recognize that our common habits in food, our common likes in food, from yam and cassava to jollof rice to pilau, to the influence of immigrants from other parts of the world, have made our regions rich. And at the very time when much of the developed world spends time in the luxury and leisure of food, our people continue to starve to have access to food as they face hunger on too many fronts. Let us use that very same food to create the economic wealth and prosperity.
Barbados' Prime Minister issued a stern warning to the opposition to stop the politicking and get on board to save lives.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley issued the challenge to the Democratic Labour Party, which has called on government to take decisive action to halt the spike in COVID-19 cases. The party's spokesman on health, Andrea Worrell, says the country needs to pause before the Delta variant causes the country to crash. But Mottley made it clear her government won't be pressured into a lockdown that will only hurt the country.
Does the Democratic Labour Party understand the social and economic implications of a lockdown at this time? Do they understand that that could trigger a withdrawal of international flights for possibly the rest of the year? Do they understand the impact that this would have on Barbados and Barbadians, let alone the economy? Locking the country down is and will not be the first, second, or third option of this Barbados Labour Party government. I want to make that very clear. We do not take the matter of shutting this country down lightly. This is not a knee-jerk manner in which we govern. And if my ministers and I have to take to the streets of Barbados and go door to door to get Barbadians fully sensitized of the need to protect themselves against the spread of COVID, particularly with the prevalence of the Delta variant, then that is what we shall do.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Over in the Bahamas, legal challenges are looming ahead of the upcoming elections. The opposition Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, threatens if provisions are not made for people in quarantine to vote, they will take it to the law courts.
In a leaked draft letter penned by Damien Gomez QC on behalf of the opposition and its supporters, he expressed their alarm that Parliamentary Commissioner Lovato Duncanson may, quote, be influenced by government to prevent Bahamian citizens who are duly registered in accordance with the Parliamentary Elections Act from casting their respective votes. Notwithstanding, they are not suffering from any legal incapacity to allay these fears. The letter requests that Parliamentary Commissioner confirm within 36 hours that they will not prevent any registered voter from casting his or her ballot on the basis that he or she is quarantined or on the basis that he or she is suffering from COVID-19, and indicate what steps have been taken to ensure that such person may cast their respective ballots in a facility that is safe to other members of the electorate. If no such steps have been taken, the letter requests an explanation for such failure.
He is independent of Dr. Minnis. He's independent of Mr. Marvin Dames. He and he alone has the responsibility of securing the democracy that the Bahamas has been known for We expect them to make an announcement in due course.
The Nurses Association of Jamaica is cautioning against any move by the government to make vaccination mandatory for healthcare workers. Shamela Pullin of TTBJ News reports.
In the last few weeks, the 2 nurses who have died from COVID-19 complications were not vaccinated. In a previous interview with TTBJ News, President of the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, Patsy Edwards-Henry, said some of her members were still hesitant in taking the jab, and so they have not made up their minds just yet. Since the issue came to public light that it was not just nurses but also medical doctors, there have been concerns. On Friday, Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort disclosed that the issue of mandatory vaccination cannot be ruled out. The NAJ president says the impression is given that the members will have no choice in the matter. She says while she understands the reasons for the position taken, there are implications.
Because when you say mandatory, it means you have to do it, whether you want to do it or not. And I would want to believe that this interferes with one's human rights, because there has always been the right to choose. And even although it is said that vaccinations for children are mandatory, I still do think that persons choose to take their children to get them immunized. So while we have this discussion, I implore the government to look at all the ramifications, all the legal wranglings, all the legal implications.
And Mrs. Edwards-Henry disclosed that there are other legal issues which will have to be confronted if the government proceeds with mandatory vaccination for healthcare workers.
We are now going to have to look at the employment contracts. How do we write them into contracts in midstream? A number of us have been employed for years. Do you now say it is mandatory, and if we don't take it, it will affect our employment? It was never written into our contract. It was never part of our employment. So while we understand and we see that government seems to be wanting to do the right thing, we ask that they think this through thoroughly before it is thrown out.
Shamela Pullin, TTBJ News.
The media fraternity in St. Lucia has been plunged into mourning following the death of veteran broadcaster journalist Valerie Albert Fevrier on Tuesday. More in this HTS News Force report.
It is with deep sadness that we announce the passing earlier Tuesday of our program director, Valerie Albert Fevrier. Miss Albert, as she was affectionately called, succumbed on Tuesday after a 6-week battle with an infection. Valerie Albert Fevrier was one of the pillars of our modern media landscape. Her career began as a radio announcer at Radio St. Lucia in the 1980s. She is a founding member of Helen Television System, Radio 100, and functioned as program director here at HTS for the past 35 years. She helped shape the careers of many young persons on the local and international media landscape. A passion of hers was supporting local charitable organizations. She leaves to mourn her husband and managing director of Helen Television System, Wilfred Fevrier, as well as one son, Alan Fevrier, sister Gemma, the HTS directors, and the entire staff.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.